and welcome to the 8 p.m. news on Canal the English with me, Annette Sume. We begin with our top stories for tonight. Bad news as the U.S. government plans to cut more than 8 billion francs CFA military aid to Cameroon. Announcement made on CNN by a U.S. state official. The Cameroon Employers Council GICAM has expressed worries over crises on different fronts which continue to affect the already dangling economy. An accident on the new bridge over the Vuri River today created panic, an accident that has been blamed on high speed. And out of the country, French warplanes have carried out fresh attack on a Chadian military convoy, and Brazilian former President Lula da Silva has been given another 12 months in prison. Developments will be yours right ahead. We begin with this information where the court case against SISEKU, TABE, AYUK and Co. has been adjourned for Wednesday, 20th of February 2019. Reports hold the defense questioned the qualities of the interpreters and the competence of the tribunal to establish the nationalities of the accused. We will bring you developments on this on subsequent editions of the news. The College of Cameroonian Lawyers for the Defense of the Detainees of the January 26 protest situation of the detainees. This was during a press conference that granted yesterday in Yaoundé. Details with Beatrice Cam.
Lawyers explains the situation of the detainees at the different detention centers in Yaoundé. The focus of the press conference Wednesday night. This alongside that of Paul Erikinge, Camto's former campaign director, Alain Foguet, General Treasurer of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, Lynn already following the hunger strike he's engaged in, and also artist Valsero, persons who were never part of the White March, that's January 26. There is also Maurice Camto, who is doing fine at his GSO cell. The lawyers added this alongside Celestine Jamin and Christian Penda Ekoka. As they said, the investigation agenda always talks of attacks on diplomatic missions abroad, an obsession the lawyers adds as officials always tries to link the arrest to the destruction abroad. But the Cameroon Renaissance Movement repeats none of their militants participated in any vandalism of that sort abroad, as Maurice Camto gave no such advice. The motive always used to bleach these persons criminals. Their preoccupation is the wave of arrest following the manifestation braved by the militants and sympathizers of the political class in Yaoundé, Douala, Buda, Bangante, Bafoussam and others. The Yaoundé authorities have always claimed the call to order. Many times, the reason for the detention and judicial cases in conformity with the law, seen as a violation of the ban by administrative authorities.
The United States government has announced an imminent cut of 8 billion francs CFA as military aid to Cameroon. The decision, first announced by a U.S. state official on CNN, is linked to increased human rights violation amongst other reasons, as we hear in this report with Regina Leke-Fonja Tandang.
$17 million US, equivalent to more than 8 billion francs CFA, is the amount in military aid the Cameroon government may no longer get from the US government. This will include funds for radars, 4 Defender-class patrol boats, 9 armored vehicles, training programs for C-130, airplanes and helicopters, amongst others. The announcement from the US State Department, which fell like a bombshell on Wednesday, is due to allegations of the human rights violations in Cameroon. U.S. actions, according to a statement first read out on CNN, follows accusations from the U.S. ambassador to Cameroon, Peter Henry Ballery, who accused the Cameroon security forces of carrying out targeted killings, arbitrary detentions, as well as burning of villages and looting property. Following the announcement, Rights group Amnesty International lauded the move but called on the United States to suspend all security assistance until the Cameroon government shows it has not been utilized to commit serious violations of international law. Amnesty International has equally urged the Trump administration to press other donors of security assistance to review their programs. This action of the United States, according to observers, is a big blow to Cameroon's fight against Boko Haram in the far north region of the country, where the U.S. assistance has been key in pushing back the terrorist group. Others think the move should now push the Cameroon government to bring all dissenting voices to the table to find a way out of the Anglophone crisis. Reacting to the announcement this Thursday, U.S. Ambassador to Cameroon Peter Henry Ballery says relations between Cameroon and the USA are still fine despite military aid cuts.
U.S. Ambassador to Cameroon Peter Henry Ballery today reacted as he met with Cameroon's Minister of Communication. Details of this meeting once more with Beatrice Gamu.
Peter Henry Ballery this February 7 to Cameroon's Minister of Communication, René Emmanuel Sadi, opportunity for journalists to confirm the story. Is the U.S. government really going to cut millions in security and military aid to Cameroon amidst concerns over Cameroonian government's human rights record? This following a U.S. official statement to the CNN.
We have our differences. Cameroon is a sovereign country, and the United States is a sovereign country. If you need more information about security cooperation, I recommend that you get in touch with our spokesperson from the embassy.
And that was all. Despite the many attempts to make the U.S. diplomat explains further. The U.S. official statement on CNN, it is said, is that the U.S. intends to terminate over $17 billion in security aid, including funds for raiders, 4 Defenders-class patrol boats, 9 armored vehicles, training program for the C-130 airplanes and helicopters, and withdrawal for Cameroon to be a candidate for the State Partnership Program. The U.S. diplomat Peter Henry Ballery, however, salutes the sacrifices Cameroon has been putting up in the far north and in the Lake Chad Basin region, fighting Boko Haram terrorism and also ensuring maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea.
Nous respectons les sacrifices que le Cameroun fait dans l'extrême nord et dans le bassin du lac Tchad contre Boko Haram, mais aussi de rassurer la sécurité maritime dans le Golfe de Guinée.
The spokesman at the U.S. Embassy in Yaoundé, the one with the answer, and soon in a subsequent newscast.
We move over to the northwest region where some internally displaced persons living in Bamenda have been called upon to live an exemplary life. This call was made by SDF Member of Parliament Esther Ngala, who extended a hand of fellowship to these ones. She equally added that the degenerated crisis can only be solved through inclusive dialogue. Amber Gladys Diban reports.
Honorable Ngala Esther, SDF Member of Parliament, has reiterated the stance of the party in the ongoing crisis rocking the 2 English-speaking regions of Cameroon, insisting that inclusive dialogue is the only proper solution to the conflicts. She expresses worry on lack of concerns by international bodies over the crisis.
So I'm crying for my people that they are suffering. Let peace reign in Cameroon. Let dialogue reign in Cameroon. My question is that, what is the UN doing? What is the AU doing? What is the Commonwealth doing? Do they want all West Cameroonians to die or before they come to assist us? I am pleading as a parliamentarian, as a woman, as a mother, that my youths have died enough. And that we have more widows, more orphans.
This call was made while handing over basic necessities to some 200 internally displaced persons from Fundong, Belu, Kumbu and Kambe who sought refuge in the town of Bamenda.
I have lived the problem. My people are here. I was Andu for 3 months. So I know what they are passing through. If I, as a parliamentarian, can feel so demoralized, what about my people? I've seen my children, I've seen my sons, I've seen my fathers trekking on foot, having nothing to eat and having no place to live. So I feel depressed. I thought that I should share the little bit that I have with them.
The internally displaced persons were urged to live exemplary lives as the tensions deepened.
I want them to stay indoors from 4 o'clock. I want them to dress neatly. I want them to behave as people who are in the city. There should be no gossiping and they should obey the laws that are in the city. That if it is night, the curfew has not been lifted, they should all stay at home.
The gesture of the Social Democratic Front MP comes as the two English-speaking regions are respecting a 10-day lockdown imposed by restoration forces.
The Cameroon Employers Cartel GICAM has once again expressed worries over crises on different fronts of the country, which continue to affect the already dangling economy. A release from the Employers Cartel denounces all forms of tribalism and other evil practices that can further degenerate the prevailing situation in the country. Once more, Ambo Gladys Dibang reports.
The socio-economic climate in Cameroon continues to preoccupy the National Employers Cartel, GICAM. In a release made public by the cartel that precedes a board meeting in Douala, members expressed fears that accusations being traded on the media, the social media, and calls for multiple violence helps to provoke ethnic conflicts and consequently increases tensions to the already degrading crisis in some parts of the country. According to the business persons, attacks by insurgent group Boko Haram in the northern parts of Cameroon, kidnappings in the Adamawa, and attacks in the East region has led to the influx of refugees and internally displaced persons. Adding these to the degrading crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, there are indications that if nothing is urgently done, Cameroon is doomed for a civil war. The employer cartel GICAM is also worried that the already dwindling economy might worsen as several generating income sectors in the Anglophone regions have shut down or barely surviving. Some of them include the Cameroon Development Corporation, which is the second highest employer after the state, Pamol, and other companies. All these are ruining entrepreneurial initiatives and sending away investors. As a result, the employer cartel has emphasized on the importance of enterprise, which is described as the strength of socio-economic commitment and national integration. It therefore calls on company heads not to sit in to calls for division and to be guarantors of diversity and cohesion within their respective enterprises in order to preserve the socio-economic environment of Cameroon.
Still on economic news, discussions on strategies to supply legal wood in Cameroonian markets is ongoing, an initiative that has been backed by the European Union and the Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO. This report.
Despite the many trees destroyed in the name of wood in Cameroon, the local market in the country still suffers from wood scarcity because woods are expensive, and also as some over 1 billion cubic meters of scrap woods produced in the process are destroyed by the exploitation companies, which can be sold and used in our local markets. The reason behind the workshop organized in Yaoundé is to reinforce the legality of woods in our domestic markets and also in the forest zones of the east and south regions.
The wood is having too much problem, and then unfortunately the market is not available to get a good wood which is legally. So we have now the partner who has come to help us to bring in the market good quality wood, so that the furniture we have behind that will be the good quality.
The question is for the actors, that is those involved, to get the legal documents needed to furnish local markets with the right words.
We first of all touch the forêt communautaire, who will be the people that we can have the good wood from them. And then we have now a professional who will transform that wood to put in the market.
This initiative, supported by the European Union and Food and Agricultural Organization within the PLEX program, the Action for Sustainable Development, and the Cameroonian Federation of Associations and Professionals in Second Transformation of Wood, aims equally to better reinforce these positions for craftsmen in the transformation chain.
And other companies are working towards meeting the deadline of March 15 for the declaration of their income tax returns for the last financial year. Efforts are being made for them to understand the changes and innovations in the 2019 finance law, and experts say this can only be done through training. Amber Gladys Dibang once more reports.
Due to difficulties usually faced by companies and other businesses in implementing tax changes and innovations inherent to the finance law, the Chamber of Commerce, in collaboration with Okala Ahanda and Associate Consultancy, deemed it necessary to drill Cameroonians of all walks of life on changes related to the Manual of Tax Procedures and changes to custom duties and other dues. The objective of this training is actually meant at enlightening taxpayers on the changes made on the 20 finance law, notably dispositions that will facilitate transactions for business persons. While brainstorming on value-added tax credit reforms, resource persons made it clear that for general activities, any carry-forward credits on subsequent returns, as stated in Section 149 of the Finance Law, shall not be accepted beyond a period of 3 months after prior approval by the relevant tax administration services. For excess duty, the average rate has been fixed on 12.5% and reduced rates of 5%. Specific cases of carbonated beverages and beer with an alcoholic content with less than or equals to 5.5% and excess duties on other sectors like real estate were discussed elaborately. It was noted that excess duty on second-hand items, used tires, private utility and public transport vehicles with different cylinder capacities have dropped as compared to 2018. Another innovation which led to intense debate is the super reduced rates of special income tax that applies to remuneration paid by shipping companies for rental and chartering of ships, space rentals on foreign vessels, and commission paid to port agents abroad. Meantime, enterprises that fall under specialized management units shall henceforth be required to transmit their statistical and tax return only electronically.
There was panic today in Cameroon's economic city Douala when a lorry lost control and damaged roadblocks on the newly constructed bridge over the Vuri. The accident has been blamed on high speed, as Dimorin tells us.
This is a truck suspending over roadblocks separating the new bridge and the old bridge on the River Wuri in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. It is unclear how the truck ended at this section of the road, but there are reports that the driver narrowly escaped death. But there are reports that the driver experienced brakes failure, though he was running on high speed. The driver is said to have cheated death. Inhabitants have blamed the accident on the uncivic attitude of inhabitants who constantly ply that stretch. We are here to call the attention of the population, especially drivers, on the risks they stand when they drive on high speed. They need to slow down. It's a 3-lane road, but they move very fast here. People drive poorly on this bridge that was newly constructed. The road is now open for circulation, but people abuse it by driving on high speed. Some users quickly threw the blame on contractors, whom they say poorly executed the job. The roadblocks are not solid enough to resist accidents. In case of violent shock, the truck might end up on the other side of the road. This man cried out. All trucks like this one should constantly visit roadworthiness centers. The irresponsible attitude of the population is more visible in Douala 4. Here at the cemetery, you find vandalized electricity poles, damaged road signs and posts, and many others. And the question is who takes the blame for the uncivic attitude. Road users should know that government has invested on roads. Government is out to protect its citizens. That's why we have roadblocks in certain areas. There are fears if nothing is done to address the problem, it might be difficult to manage the situation in the nearest future.
We now talk health, where for the past 6 years, the government, through the Ministry of Public Health, has been working towards providing quality and quantity health care to Cameroonians. Some health institutions in the East region have worked so well and have been accredited the performance-based financing scheme. Details in the following report. 8 district hospitals and 7 health centers in the East region of Cameroon have been selected to benefit from performance-based financing, a modernizing system put in place by the government of Cameroon in 2012 for patients to receive quality treatment. It's a memorable day. We want to appreciate health institutions that work daily to serve the people quantitatively and qualitatively. The East region has 14 district hospitals and all are subjected to the same evaluation before benefiting. Quality is evaluated in 3 areas. The regulator, whereby the regional delegation evaluates the district hospital on 35%, the benefiting community evaluates the hospital on 35%, and so in this, that allows for government's appreciation on 30%. All this make 100%.
Un poids de 30%. Au total, on a 100%. Je n'y croyais pas.
We are satisfied, but in future, we have to maintain standard, so we have to work harder. Hospitals accredited to benefit from the performance-based financing have to multiply efforts for more better results, for these accreditations might be withdrawn once results drop. Youths in Man in a locality in the Thames Valley have been told to exercise patience as they wait for government support. This call was made by the mayor as he launched week-long activities ahead of Youth Day. Details with Crystal Katala.
They have one wish as they celebrate the 53rd edition of National Youth Day, seeing their living conditions improved. The youth of Man in the Thames Valley expressed the wish during the launching of youth activities in the locality. Here at Man, we are idle because we lack so many things. We don't have electricity for the youth to profit. We have a lot of entertainment in town that youth here also need, but which is lacking. We need classrooms and teachers everywhere, from the nursery to the secondary section. We lack laboratories and libraries. Others have proposed the construction of agricultural schools in Man, which soil is known to be very fertile, given that it is a forest zone.
Le jeune de Man
Youth in Man need to integrate professionally somewhere. We have seen many youth in the village engage into alcohol, unwanted pregnancies. We want that government schools and technical schools, equally agricultural schools, should be constructed here in Man.
Notre lycée technique agricole, car vous-même vous voyez la forêt.
Mass exodus is set to be on the rise in the locality as many youths cross to neighboring countries like Equatorial Guinea in search for greener pasture. The mayor of the locality have urged them to exercise patience and count on the government, which has them at heart.
We now move out of the country where France has launched fresh attacks on Chadian military, and in Brazil, Lula da Silva has been given 12 more months in prison. This and more put together by our intern, Ladonette Ondesa.
The Senegalese currency, the CFA francs, which was introduced by France in 1945, and is being used by 14 West African nations, has become a topic of debate ahead of its presidential election at the end of the month. Some Senegalese are opposed to it, saying it is a legacy of colonialism. Crowds of people are protesting in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, in support of hundreds of demonstrators who have been arrested since anti-government rallies erupted in December. The protesters, whose campaign slogans are freedom, peace, justice, were quickly confronted by the riot police. French warplanes have carried out fresh attacks in Chad on what the military says is a heavily armed convoy. The French military, acting at the request of the Chadian army, says it is trying to prevent the destabilization of the nation, but civil society denounced the strikes as illegitimate. France is reported to have destroyed 20 out of 50 pickup trucks and also struck a convoy in Chad over the weekend. A Brazilian court has sentenced former president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva to 9 years for a 12 and 11 months imprisonment for corruption. Lula, 73, was found guilty of taking renovation work from a company implicated in a massive corruption scheme. The former president is already serving a 12-year sentence over work done on a beachfront property. Mr. Lula da Silva ruled Brazil as president between 2003 and 2010. Last week, he was not allowed to leave prison and attend his brother's funeral. France has warned Italian Deputy Prime Minister Luigi Di Maio not to interfere in the country's politics after he met French yellow vest protesters. He met two leaders of the anti-government protest on Tuesday. This new provocation is unacceptable between neighboring countries and partners at the heart of the EU, according to France. Relation between France and Italy has been tense since the Five Star movement came to power in Italy in June 2018.
This information brings us to the end of the 8 p.m. newscast tonight on Canal the English. Thanks for watching and have a blessed weekend.